I'd like to introduce our first moderator, who's Ron Stranix, our Director of Business Development here at World Travel. Ron, come on into the studio.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Appreciate
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Social distance?
Yeah,
Good to
absolutely.
see you. Haven't seen you in a long time.
It has been a few months.
I've seen you on Zoom calls and webinars.
Every couple of days, actually. Yeah.
I want to say congratulations to you on expecting your second child now.
Thank you. Definitely quarantine baby, but thank you very much.
Well, I was going to ask you what you've been doing during the pandemic, but I guess
I appreciate it.
You just told us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, so Ron, we'll turn it over to you, and if you could introduce our panel.
Great, absolutely. Thank you very much, Mike. And I'm really excited to talk to some of our car rental and ground transportation partners today. At this point, I'd like to ask our panelists to come on screen. Joining us today, we do have from Enterprise, Johnny Schulteis, from GEM Limo, Ed Walsh, and from Lyft, we have Caitlin Gomez. And I'm going to ask you guys to take a second just to introduce yourself. Why don't we start with Johnny?
Yes, thanks for having me, guys. Johnny Schulteis. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at Enterprise Holdings, headquartered in St. Louis. Been with Enterprise for 29 years. Have worked in a lot of different places. Used to work with all of our Canadian operations and started working with a bunch of our Northeast operations about 5 years ago. So anxious to share some information with all of you. And gentlemen, thanks for having me involved. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Johnny. How about Ed?
Hi, I'm Ed Walsh, Senior Vice President of Client Relations at GM Limousine Worldwide. We provide services to our corporate customers ranging from the individual traveler to large groups and events.
Great. Thank you, Ed. And last but certainly not least, how about Caitlin?
Hi, I'm Caitlin Gomez. I'm with Lyft. I'm the head of corporate travel partnerships.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you all again for joining us. I know it's been a challenging time for everyone on this call, and we've had to make some significant adjustments to how we conduct our business. Can you each talk to some of the changes guests can expect when they travel with you again? Why don't we get started with Johnny?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, I think at the national brand at our airports, we've obviously have the Clean Car Pledge, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But when it relates to the national brand, really social distancing occurred naturally before. So frankly, there's not a huge difference there. Our Emerald Isle always pretty much provided that already. I think the biggest difference that you're going to see is at our non-airport locations, particularly on the Enterprise brand. And this is important for us because we're seeing more and more customers that are moving over to that brand to use us instead of going to an airport to rent a car. So the biggest change that we're seeing is we're starting to launch, and it's in pilot phase right now. We've got about 300 branches that are doing it. It's called Low Touch No Touch brand of service. Essentially, a guest will check in online, they'll check in with an app, and they will go to our branch. They'll have what's called a rental pass. They'll show that rental pass and they'll be able to get on their way. So we've got about 90% of our locations are within 15 minutes of the US population. So we've got a ton of density there. And we're piloting with leisure customers, and we'll be fully operational with that probably at the beginning of January, February.
Great, that's awesome news, Johnny. Thank you very much. Ed, same question to you.
Well, the first thing we did, we took a page from the hotels and the airlines, and we invested in the eMist electrostatic disinfectant system. So all of our vehicles are being sprayed on a daily basis. All of our chauffeurs are obviously wearing masks and disposable gloves, and between each ride, every touch point in the vehicle is being wiped down with disinfectants. We do ask our travelers, passengers, if they would like for us to handle their luggage. If they do say yes, we'll wipe the handles down, we'll load them into the vehicle. At the end of the trip, we'll open the trunk, we'll wipe them down again and hand them back to the passenger.
Great, thank you very much, Ed. And Caitlin, same question to you. Some of the changes that your customers can expect.
So the good news for us is that people are already in our cars. We've been working throughout the pandemic. First, our focus was helping essential workers and first responders get to where they needed to be. So for us, health and safety and security has been our #1 priority. So one thing you'll notice immediately if you haven't been in our cars is the hard plastic partitions. And behind the scenes, we're offering guidance for our drivers on how to efficiently clean and disinfect each surface in their vehicle, including step-by-step instructions for both the rider and driver spaces. And this is all part of our new Clean Ride Guide, which is just the latest in our initiatives of our health and safety program, which includes policies, commitments, and products designed to establish new health and safety standards for ride sharing based on all the CDC guidelines.
Thank you, Kaylin. Very great information there. So this next question is specifically for Johnny. Johnny, I know Enterprise has been very proactive since the pandemic hit, and you guys have recently implemented the Complete Clean Pledge. Can you talk more about the cleaning and sterilization policies that you guys have implemented and how travelers are reacting to them at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So for starters, I mean, providing a clean and well-maintained vehicle, it's really jacks or better for us. So our customers tell us that, our service quality comments tell us that. So it's always been important. But where the extra steps we've taken are really in a number of different areas. The first area is we're looking at 20 additional touch points. So everything from the door handle to the key fob is sterilized with CDC recommended sterilization. And we've invested a ton in that. The other side of it is we're having to find that we have to invest in the back end of our business. The front counter service folks were where most of our folks began their careers and started, but what we're finding is from an auto detailer standpoint, we have to invest in that. And that investment is not only in the paid guidelines in order to get the best talent, but also retaining that talent. And the last piece is we're now hiring quality control managers who are laser focused on this. So they in turn can make sure that we're meeting all those guidelines, because it's at the end of the day, it is a jacks or better, it's critical. You know, how our customers reacted, appreciative and confident. I mean, we built our brand on earning travelers' trust. We want to continue with that tradition, so we really can't miss here. Were there mistakes early on? Yeah, absolutely. We faced some obstacles, but of course we learned from them. We've redirected, and now it's just a part of our normal.
Great. Thank you very much, Johnny. That's great information. Ed, Gem Limo offers a variety of black car and limo services to travelers from VIP, corporate, group transportation, as well as leisure services to weddings and nights out. How has business been trending for Gem? And are you seeing an increase in demand for your corporate services or leisure services, or both?
Over the past month, we've seen a little bit of an increase in our corporate customers. Mostly, they're people taking our vehicles in and out of the city who do not want to get on public transportation. They find it to be very comfortable in our cars, in our SUVs, in our vans, in our buses. We do have the plexiglass separating the chauffeur from the back of the vehicles. And that kind of word of mouth I think has really increased our business within the corporate sector of our car world, as you would say. And also, recently we've seen a little bit more weddings now that certain states have opened up a number of people that can be at an event. Not nearly what we have used to see in the fall, but we have seen an uptick, and I anticipate that to continue.
Great. Thank you very much. And then Caitlin, rideshare has really started to pick back up, and riders are definitely returning to your services, as you mentioned before. Can you talk to us about the recovery trends you were seeing?
Yeah, so I think 2020 and 2021 really will be the year of the car. So good news for us, Ed and Johnny, right?
That's what you like to hear.
And the great thing is that, you know, being on the ground where we begin and end almost every trip, right? So we really do have a pulse on kind of what's coming back first. So while, as Ed said, business travel is still mostly on hold, cities are starting to open back up. So, you know, we've been focused on helping our partners with safe and reliable commute options for their employees to feel comfortable just going back into the office. And as business travel restarts and people are starting to travel again by airplane and I know we have an airline panel coming up later, and I actually know a ton of people that have been flying and love it. So I'm really excited about the movement that I've been seeing, and I think this will just continue to increase. But like, let's face it, right? We're gonna have to make it easier and more seamless and valuable to every traveler. And this is where, like, I think everybody here knows, but if you don't, I'm a TMC girl at heart. And this is where TMCs, I think, will really play a key role, especially world travel, because it means not just thinking about air, but the entire journey from the airport, hotel, ground, and back home. And suppliers will have to go above and beyond to alleviate as much of the stress and complexity around traveling as possible. So platforms and tools that give your travelers and our travel managers peace of mind and control, I think those will be the ones that will win the recovery. But let's face it, like, we have to address the issue of climate change. It's one of the greatest challenges that we face, and it is really a formidable threat to the livability of our cities. And to be honest, the transportation section is the largest contributor to those carbon emissions. So we think that acknowledging the immediacy of the problem and embracing our role in combating climate change by the acceleration of our multi-modal, our shared ride once those come back. And if you haven't seen, our city bikes are opening up in more and more cities, and we had like over 200,000 rides, which was really cool. So all of these efforts, we think, will continue to create financial savings opportunities for our companies and our driver communities and create a cleaner transportation solution for everyone.
Thank you very much, Kaylin. One final question I'd like to pose to everybody here in 1 minute or less. As we continue to see travel demand rising, what are your expectations for the remainder of 2020 and 2021? Kaylin, let's get started with you on that question. I know you kind of alluded to that earlier.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd like to be more optimistic, and I think I was at one point, but it's kind of settling in that as the holidays come around, I think, you know, I'm probably not getting out of this white void anytime soon. But the good news is that, and in Lyft, we have a particular employee set, right, where I'm lucky enough to work on the procurement team as well. And we are seeing our own employees travel. While they're not traveling for business and we're not encouraging them to travel, they are experiencing travel. So I really do think leisure and the businesses that are associated around leisure travel and entertainment, sports, healthcare, like, this is all moving, guys, and it's moving now. So waiting for it to restart, I really think will be too late. So I love that World Travel has kept their staff at the same levels pre-pandemic, because I think this sets you up to really start working now to help people feel more and more comfortable. And I really do think after the holidays and people do get out and travel about, they'll start to see the clean initiatives that Ed, Johnny, myself, the airlines, the hotels are putting into place, and they'll begin to feel more and more comfortable, similar to after 9/11.
Great, thank you, Kaylin. Same question to Ed. 1 minute or less response, please. Thank you.
Well, I agree with Caitlin. I think that from now through the end of this year, we'll be about the same as we are. But as we go into next year, I think we'll see an increase month over month, and we all need to start traveling, and we're going to see it come, hopefully March, April, we'll see enough to make us all happy and do the happy dance every day when we go to and from work.
Absolutely. Can only hope, Ed. Thank you. And then Johnny, same question.
Yeah, gosh, I wish I had a crystal ball. As Caitlin said, I think we see where a lot of that business is coming from. It's heavy manufacturing, places that are even in rural communities in which they need to go visit customers or suppliers. And in those cases, from a rental car standpoint, we're really competing against companies using their own personal vehicles and reimbursing for that mileage. We see that over and over again. As I look forward into the summer, fleet is going to be constrained. It's going to be constrained for a couple different reasons. One, new car production went down a little bit. The manufacturers were closed down, so new car production is going to limit us there. We've had some competitors that had to defleet for a number of different reasons, and so fleet is going to be constrained, particularly as we move into the summer. I think we're in a great place in regard to that. We've always had a solid debt to equity ratio, a really good balance sheet. We've got a great relationship. So I think we're going to be good. At the end of the day, when this first happened, we had to react. We then had to restart, and right now we're trying to reshape. And so everyone I talked to, first it was Labor Day, and then they said it was going to be January, and now it feels like hopefully this summer it comes back around. But it's slowly but surely moving forward. But I think, as everyone would agree, gosh, I wish it would move faster.
We all do, Johnny. Thank you. And thank you to the entire CAR panel, Johnny, Caitlin, and Ed, for your time today. And a special thank you again to Enterprise for serving as a sponsor for our virtual symposium.